The Lost Boys is an 80s essential you've watched a dozen times, but you've never seen the whole story.
You're creature of the night, Michael, just like out of a comic book.
From the real-life injury that made Kiefer's David a better villain, to Grandpa's final line that proves he was in on it,
all the damn vampires.
These details will make you see the entire film through a terrifying new lens. These are 20 plot-altering secrets that change the ending of The Lost Boys.
Now we should stay calm.
But before we dive into the plot secrets, let's talk about the one that proves the movie's most iconic visual was an accident of genius. Number 1. That iconic vampire flying scene everyone remembers? It was basically an accident. The production couldn't afford proper flying effects, so they had to get creative. Instead of showing vampires actually flying around, they just put the camera where the vampire would be.
Death by stereo.
You're seeing through the monster's eyes as it swoops over Santa Carla. This first-person camera perspective was a desperate budget solution that became the film's signature move. The crew positioned the audience as the predator.
Sammy, help me! Open up! Help me! Sammy, open the window!
Never! I knew it!
I am not!
Making you experience flight from the vampire's perspective. This technique glided through scenes like you were the bloodsucker hunting victims. This approach actually makes the vampires way more terrifying by hiding them completely. You never see what's doing the stalking, just the hunt itself. Number 2. The vampire eyes weren't just good acting, they were actually suffering. The glass contact lenses weren't the soft contacts actors use today. We're talking thick, rigid, hand-painted glass discs that sat on the actors' eyeballs like tiny shields. The cast couldn't blink normally with these things in. Their eyes would water constantly and turn red from lack of air. Kiefer said wearing them felt like having marbles stuck in his eyes. Here's the wild part. That real pain translates to more intense and unsettling on-screen stares. One of David's most intense moments wasn't acting. It was a close-up of him shedding a tear, but his eye was just reacting to the brutal contact lens. The director saw it and kept the shot. When David locks eyes with someone, Kiefer isn't just acting menacing. He's genuinely uncomfortable and trying not to blink.
It's a hard thing to express to all of you how exciting it was for us at our age.
The authentic discomfort made the vampire transformations feel way more real.
You're eating maggots, how do they taste?
Leave him alone.
Number 3. Star's supposed rescue is where everything falls apart. Everyone thinks Star gets saved at the end, but there's a huge problem nobody talks about. The movie never actually shows Star being cured. She just stops floating and acts normal. That's it. Here's what you missed. Star is the only vampire in the entire film who never shows her full vampire form. Think about it. Michael transforms. David and his crew show their fangs and scary faces, but Star? Nothing. She stays stuck as a half-vampire the whole time. The film's own rules say you need to kill the head vampire to cure half-vampires, but watch that ending again. Star doesn't go through any transformation back to human.
Please stop! Get away from him! You just stay away from him! He's just a little boy.
She doesn't burn or scream or change at all. This ambiguity wasn't an accident. Star and Laddie are described as only partly transformed because they refused to kill, which means their vampire status was never fully resolved. The truth is, Star might still be a half-vampire, meaning the cycle continues through her. But here's where things get really weird about this movie's DNA. Number 4. The original script was written for actual kids, like 12-year-olds. This shift created weird tonal inconsistencies that actually make the movie scarier. You can spot the leftover kid movie DNA everywhere. The comic book store feels like something from a family adventure film. Sam's bedroom looks like it belongs to a much younger kid. The Frog Brothers act like they're playing dress-up as tough guys rather than being actual tough guys. The vampire's hideout became this sunken luxury hotel that adds gothic danger to what started as a simpler concept. The seductive vampire transformation wasn't even in the original script. That got added when they aged up the characters and shifted from charming G-rated content to something sexy and adult.
It doesn't, to Billy's point, it doesn't erase the prior movie, they just sit side by side. I mean, I come from theater, I think all of us do.
The genre mashup wasn't intentional, but created something totally unique. You can still see traces of adventure movie DNA buried in the horror. Number 5. Grandpa's final line reveals everything. That throwaway joke about the vampires? It's not a joke, it's a confession. His timing is too perfect, and his knowledge is too specific for someone who just figured it out. His line,
One thing about living in Santa Carla I never could stomach. All the damn vampires.
Hits different when you realise he knew the whole time. He conveniently disappears right before the final attack. Where does he go during the most dangerous night his family ever faced? He vanishes until it's all over, then shows up with that perfectly timed one-liner. This means Grandpa lived with the vampires for years and chose not to act. He knew Santa Carla was crawling with bloodsuckers and let his daughter move there anyway. The studio actually hated this ending line, but director Joel Schumacher fought to keep it, knowing it was more than a joke. Number 6. The novelization includes a huge rule the movie ignores. Vampires can't cross running water. If they had followed this, the whole story would fall apart. Santa Carla sits right next to the ocean, and the vampires should be far more limited. The film cut this weakness, but it creates a massive plot hole. Watch the final battle. The vampires attack a house with water running through the pipes. But they act like it's no big deal. The writers either forgot the rule entirely or decided it wasn't worth the hassle. This inconsistency proves that the film prioritizes style over its own established lore. But here's the thing about inconsistencies. Sometimes they're actually the point. Take two characters who seem like total goofballs, but might be way smarter than anyone realised. Number 7. Edgar and Alan aren't just comic relief. They're actually a brilliant parody. Their over-the-top macho behaviour was making fun of 80s action movie culture. These kids talk like they're Rambo crossed with Chuck Norris, dropping serious vampire knowledge while flexing muscles they don't have. Corey Feldman showed up to rehearsal with a voice 2 octaves lower and wore camouflage to develop his character. Watch how they deliver vampire facts with intense stares and dramatic pauses. The Frog Brothers work as both genuine heroes.
When a vampire bites it, it's never a pretty sight. No two bloodsuckers go out the same way. Some yell and scream, some go quiet, some explode, some implode.
And a satire of action movie tropes. When real danger hits, their bravado cracks and you see actual scared kids underneath. They're simultaneously brave and a joke about how movies taught boys to act tough. But speaking of things that seem fake but have darker roots, even the town's name wasn't chosen randomly. Number 8. They didn't just pick a random fake name for the town, there's a disturbing reason behind Santa Carla. The change was meant to hide the real-life horror of Santa Cruz. In the early 1970s, 3 different serial killers murdered 28 people there, earning Santa Cruz the name the murder capital of the world. The filmmakers knew about this history when they chose the location. Director Joel Schumacher said the Santa Cruz boardwalk was exactly where you would go if you were a teenage vampire. The fictional vampires were built on top of actual local murder history. The writers took real crime and mixed it with supernatural horror, making the idea of a town overrun by bloodsuckers feel terrifyingly believable. But the dark history wasn't the only thing that shaped this movie in unexpected ways. Number 9. Kiefer's physical condition during filming accidentally created one of horror's most controlled villains. David moves in a careful, measured way throughout the movie. Turns out Sutherland was hiding a broken wrist during filming. He was terrified of losing the part, so he showed up to set and kept the injury a secret. This forced him to move with intense restraint. He couldn't make big gestures, relying instead on his eyes and voice.
Drink some of this, Michael. Be one of us.
His motorcycle in the movie even had to be adapted so he could operate it with his left hand only. This physical limitation accidentally created a more menacing character. Instead of a wild vampire, David became a controlled predator, proving that sometimes real-world constraints lead to the most iconic choices. Number 10. The head vampire's name might not be random. It could be honouring the ultimate rock star vampire, David Bowie. Bowie's influence on the aesthetic runs deep.
Jamming good with Wirth and Gilly and the spiders from Mars.
David the vampire carries himself with that same mysterious smile and confident stare that says he knows secrets you don't. Bowie spent decades playing characters who seemed alien and dangerous. David channels that same otherworldly energy with his bleached hair and dramatic look. Bowie's music was always about transformation and becoming something more than human. Whether intentional or not, David the Vampire feels like a direct tribute to Bowie's stage presence. But speaking of music that defined this movie, there's something even bigger than the characters that came out of The Lost Boys. Number 11. The soundtrack became an instant cult artifact that sold millions, outperforming the movie's box office. The music became the real cultural phenomenon, while the film was just a delivery system. People bought the album without even seeing the movie. Songs like People Are Strange and Cry Little Sister took on lives of their own. Cry Little Sister especially became a gothic anthem that defined vampire movies for decades. It wasn't just a theme, It was a dark, yearning mood that captured something the movie scenes couldn't express. The music hit right away and kept playing in clubs and on reissues long after people forgot specific scenes. The Lost Boys proved that sometimes the music is what makes a movie immortal. Number 12. Corey Haim's casting as Sam changed everything about how vulnerable the character felt. When the filmmakers chose Haim over other potential actors, they got someone who brought this fragile, worried energy to the role. Haim had a natural ability to look genuinely scared and out of his depth, which was perfect for a kid discovering his brother was turning into a vampire.
Just like out of a comic book. You're a vampire, Michael. My own brother, a goddamn shit-sucking vampire.
A different actor, like Sean Astin, who was considered for the role, might have made Sam feel more confident. Haim kept him feeling like prey. This casting choice, combined with Corey Feldman, also launched the two Coreys phenomenon that defined 80s teen movies. Sometimes one casting decision shapes not just a character, but an entire era of filmmaking. But Haim's commitment to the role went way beyond just acting scared. Number 13. The bathtub scene, where Sam checks for vampire signs, nearly sent Corey Haim to the hospital. The water was freezing cold and Haim was genuinely suffering during filming. The production didn't have proper heating on set, so Haim had to sit in ice-cold water for hours while they got the shots.
I ain't got a home. I've got a voice.
He was shivering, his lips turned blue, and the crew had to stop filming and pull him out when he couldn't stop shaking. That genuine discomfort added serious authenticity to Sam's fear. When you watch him looking terrified in that tub, he's not just acting scared about vampires, he's actually miserable and cold. The physical reality of being freezing made Sam's terror way more convincing. Number 14. The vampire transformation story works as way more than just horror. You can read it as a metaphor for discovering who you really are. The transformation scenes feel like they're about sexual awakening and identity acceptance. Michael doesn't just want Star, he wants the freedom and danger that David's gang represents.
Haven't changed my mind about that.
I didn't invite you this time, Max.
Vampire stories have always connected to forbidden desires and self-discovery. Watch how Michael hides his changes from his family. He knows they won't understand or accept what he's becoming. The scariest part isn't becoming a monster, it's becoming yourself and losing the people you love in the process. The movie uses vampirism to explore the fear of changing into someone your family won't recognize. Number 15. Dwayne was that vampire who made silence scarier than any dialogue could. Billy Wirth got spotted by director Joel Schumacher in a nightclub crowd and was cast purely on his look. No audition required. Schumacher saw the perfect, dangerous energy. Dark hair, intense stare, the kind of guy who looks like trouble even when he's just standing there. This silent approach made Dwayne way more mysterious and threatening than the others. He studies people like a predator.
You miss, sucker.
Once, pal.
Commanding attention just by existing. Watch scenes where Dwayne's physical presence carries more weight than dialogue would. His stare did all the talking. Speaking of characters who could have used more talking, there's a whole bunch of stuff about Michael that got completely cut from the final movie. Number 16. The book version had whole storylines that got cut from the movie. In the novel, Michael actually gets a job working as a trash collector to earn money for his leather jacket. This gave him way more reasons to stick around Santa Carla, besides just chasing Star, grounding him in a working-class reality.
So we all got pretty damn close, and to Kiefer's point, Santa Cruz had this kind of magic spell.
The novel also expanded the surf Nazi subplot, showing these guys as a real threat who had territory wars with other gangs. The book makes Santa Carla feel like a constant battleground where violence was already normal. Sometimes what gets left on the cutting room floor is just as important as what stays. Number 17. That shirtless sax guy on the beach, Tim Capello, became a legend for turning a random performance into pure movie magic. But the comics later expanded his role and connected him to larger vampire mythology. In the expanded universe, his saxophone wasn't just entertainment, it became a spiritual beacon. The comics made him into someone who understood Santa Carla's supernatural truth and fed off its power without being a vampire himself. His presence means Santa Carla's dark ecosystem runs deeper than just David's gang. Sometimes a throwaway moment becomes the foundation for an entire storyline later. Number 18. David's final moments break every vampire rule the movie established. He doesn't burn up in sunlight or get properly staked through the heart. David gets impaled on deer antlers, which should only hurt him, not kill him completely. Watch the other vampire deaths in the film. They explode, burn, or turn to dust. David just falls down and stays intact. This anticlimactic ending was deliberate. The sequel plans prove this was intentional. David was intended to have survived and would be picked up in a sequel called The Lost Girls. His death was faked from day one, designed to leave the door wide open for his return. But speaking of things hiding in plain sight, there's another layer to this movie that most people completely miss when they watch it. Number 19. Michael's real motivation gets twisted by everyone who watches this movie. Everyone thinks Michael joined the vampires to get the girl, but if you actually watch his scenes again, you'll notice something different. Michael's eyes are on David way more than they're on Star throughout the movie. When David challenges him to keep up on the motorcycles,
You know where Hudson's Bluff is overlooking the point? I can't beat your bike. You don't have to beat me, Michael. You just have to try and keep up.
Michael doesn't back down. He's drawn to that rebel energy, the freedom from rules, the way David commands respect without trying. Look at the bridge scene where they're all hanging upside down. Michael doesn't do it to impress Star. He does it because David dared him to prove he belongs. The whole time, Michael's studying how David moves, how he talks, how the other guys follow his lead. Star was just there, but David was everything Michael wanted to become. You could interpret Michael's journey as wanting to belong to David's group, with Star just being the excuse he told himself. The vampire transformation becomes about finding your identity and where you fit in, not romance. Number 20. The planned sequel, The Lost Girls, reveals the true scope of what the filmmakers had in mind. It wasn't just a cash grab, it was the story's logical conclusion. The sequel concept proves the writers always knew the vampire threat wasn't really over. They designed a follow-up where female vampires would take over Santa Carla after David's crew got wiped out, with David still alive to continue the cycle. This shows the cyclical nature of the problem. Kill one pack, another moves in. The town itself attracts vampires like a magnet. The happy ending you saw was always meant to be temporary, confirming that Santa Carla stays the murder capital of the world. The Lost Boys was always meant to be a story about cycles and inevitable corruption, not heroic victory. Every clue we just covered points to the same truth. Santa Carla is still out there, still hungry, still waiting for the next group of lost boys to feed its endless appetite. The vampire problem never gets solved, it just shifts and adapts. Now watch the movie again with these details in mind.